Yar Live is a new HD satellite service giving you the bigger picture. The full quality. Yar Live at 52.5 East, HD and only HD.
Good afternoon. I'm Kate Bulkley, and welcome to VOD on Tap. We're trying to make that a trending thing on Twitter, so VOD on Tap, that's the trending topic we're searching for. I'm Kate Bulkley. I'm a media commentator and journalist. I'm based in the UK. I write about media, technology, communications, how all this is working. I'm very interested in the business side, so hopefully this will be a sort of a how does the business model work oriented session. If you're here, you're obviously interested in how to make money on catch-up and VOD, and we're hoping to answer some of those questions. What I think we've assembled here for you are basically a group of guys who are kind of the monetizers of content on these alternative platforms. These are people that offer platforms to put your content on and offer you routes to market to actually make some money on it. So these are important folks in this new environment we're working into. What I've found as I've been here the last couple of days is more and more of the content makers and suppliers, from broadcasters all the way down to independent production companies to people with libraries, are all looking more and more at these alternative distribution means. I mean, everything from Netflix to YouTube to Hulu, iTunes, all that stuff. We had a keynote from the Amazon fellow, who obviously is in Europe, is with Love Film. So there's a lot of people in this space. And we're also seeing a lot of people who have content rights going direct to consumers, building their own sites, like the Miramax experience, for example. So we're going to talk about all that and how, let's say, this is a very rich topic. And what we decided to do was we're going to have 3 presentations, one from each of our speakers. And they're basically going to give you sort of their view on what they do specifically in the VOD space, catch-up, monetizing. And I've asked them to sort of focus on a bit of the space each, so that we get a little bit of a full picture of the whole thing. So hopefully by the end of their presentations, we'll have some kind of a picture. And then we'll do a little chat among the 3 of us, because they all have slightly different approaches, yes? And then I'll bring you guys in from the floor. So that's the plan. Let's start with Jeff Henry. Jeff is the CEO of Filmflex Movies, UK. And Filmflex has been around for a while. Jeff has been there for about a year, I think, yes, as CEO. Jeff is a long-time executive in the television business, and actually the last his big broadcasting job was at ITV, commercial broadcaster, where he was trying to look at these kind of things, digital things, from the broadcaster perspective. So it's interesting to now have you as CEO of Filmflex. So Jeff Henry, please welcome, and he will give us his view on where catch-up and VOD is going. Thanks, Jeff Henry.
Good afternoon. So, show me the money. I've tried to put some film-orientated reference into it because I think it's certainly very relevant for Filmflex and what we do. So let me tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how the VOD part of our business is effectively all we do. Filmflex is one of the most successful movies on demand providers in Europe. Launched in 2005, Filmflex has managed over 70 million buys and has processed 4,500 films through its services. It's a joint venture between Sony Pictures Television and Walt Disney Company. The company has active movie content deals with over 30 distributors, including all of the Hollywood majors and the UK's leading independent distributors. We currently operate services for Virgin Media, Channel 4, and HMV, and we're negotiating with other partners for expansion in 2012, including devices and overseas territories. We've managed the Virgin service, on-demand service on the cable network, which has now got 3.7 million homes since its launch in 2005. And Filmflex has devised and implemented a range of customer initiatives which have driven buy rates to amongst the highest in the industry. Our marketing is carried out cooperatively with our platform partners and licensing. Our in-house team, Our in-house team create a huge range of promotional material to help maximize the sales potential of our content. With 7 years' experience and insight in the on-demand space, Filmflex are experts in reaching different target audiences and extracting optimal value from a diverse spectrum of content. We know how to package and promote and ultimately sell films. In the last 3 years, the company has developed an online platform with leading technology partners, including Kit Digital and Encompass Digital Media, formerly Ascent Media. And after extensive consumer research, we launched the online platform as Virgin Media Movies Online in April 2010, Film 4 OD in October 2010, and recently HMV On Demand in November 2011. For these white label services, we manage a turnkey solution covering the website and platform operation, all content management, billing and customer service. Filmflex's white label services currently have more movies to rent than iTunes, LoveFilm, Blinkbox or Netflix. That's more new movies, that is. So crucially, you'll see the lame attempt at a movie reference. Money never sleeps. Okay, now this is really important in terms of the VOD world. This is the windowing, and what this shows is from the top left, the theatrical, and this model is not exact. Every piece of content has a slightly different configuration, but this is generally how things work. The number beside it is roughly the number of months in which the window will exist. So if you look what we have, we operate in the VOD pay-per-view window, and that would be and the EST area. So the yellow block and also the red block, the second and third areas. Now, in the first window, this is the first window after theatrical. Now, this is really important when we talk about monetizing VOD, and it appears before Sky Movies, Netflix, LoveFilm, who are in the subscription area, and I've kind of put that all in the blue box. So that, if you look at the yellow box, you'll see that's where we operate, right up against the theatrical release. In some cases, the vast majority of our currents are day and date with the home video release. And this is really important because we even have some titles which are on the same day as cinemas. These are offered while still in the cinemas and are pre-DVD release. So we like to be at the forefront of allowing new opportunities for the exploitation of content. Content providers are taking a creative approach to protecting the premiumness of their content throughout the life cycle. But they need to remain open to the new commercial models in a competitive marketplace. All of these windows there, they're all changing, moving, contracting, expanding. So somebody who has content has to be aware of the flexibility that's needed in that. We now, as I said, have more new movie releases than iTunes, Sky Box Office, BT, LoveFilm, Blinkbox, and for us that's a really important thing to be able to offer. So every new release, whether it's theatrical or DTV in the US or the UK, comes through Filmflex and its services. We offer a service which is whatever and whenever you want, or an a la carte basis. That's quality, all the newest releases, rather than others who have gone down the eat all you can, which tends to be older content, later in the product life cycle, and not necessarily what one wants, and also you've got an obligation to pay monthly. Now, both have their benefits, and the whole of the life cycle benefits from the success of each of those approaches. But rights are becoming more fragmented in that window, which is in the blue box, simply because as companies sign up things on an exclusive basis, it means that for the consumer, they can't get everything in one place. In the VOD window, they can get everything they want in one place. So we can easily ramp up our volumes. We've got the ability to react to the needs of a consumer. We've got thousands of digital assets, and we can have thousands of library titles. With cloud storage, another area, it's becoming easier to respond to the customer needs and the audience, the niche audiences that result from that. So this is something I think is worth mentioning in monetizing. I hope this is true. I believe it, but I'm sure that it's quite contentious. I think that if you look at Netflix on the Sandvine report, Netflix in terms of increasing and BitTorrent reducing, I'd like to put forward the idea that people, given the chance, prefer legal quality content in an easy-to-consume manner rather than an illegal download. Now that's really important if you're trying to monetize content. Okay, so this information scopes out the UK market, and I have to say it's pre the Netflix launch with its massive marketing power, which will absolutely alter some of these. But as you can see, what's illustrated from this is that you have small number of transactions, but a huge amount in terms of the contribution to revenue done on a pay-per-view basis. Kate referred to my earlier existence in a broadcaster, and it was all about being able to monetize content. Movies, in a transactional sense, is one of the purest and best ways to monetize content. So I'm going to throw some statistics out here just simply to prove somewhat of a point. This is from the British Video Association, said that there's been a 20% year-on-year increase in digital transactions. 15% of the overall market, worth over £200 million, is now digital, out of 1.15 billion, including physical and rental. Blu-ray sales up 19% year-on-year. However, digital and physical and retail and rental down 6%. The same story, DEG in the US reports box office sales up 12%, digital delivery up 50%, Blu-ray sales up year-on-year, VOD sales jumped ahead of video stores, DVD sales down year-on-year. The story's the same everywhere. Here's some observations from Filmflex. Our content, 80-20 rule. The new content against library, 80% of our income comes from new content. On the service, we've got 750 titles on average. 250 to 300 of them are current, and the remainder library. However, every single one of the titles has been purchased, so there is an ability to monetize the long tail. It's just a matter of how much one wishes to specialize on that. So, as mentioned, we can offer something which is scalable and change from tens of thousands of library titles. We already hold 4,500 digitized, and it increases daily. And we can react to partner consumer demand. Our model is having partners that we white label for, and if their requirement is to have something which has got a longer tail, we'll provide that. If it's to concentrate on currents, we'll also provide that. So, who are the winners in this world? Okay, the basic need of humans is for immediate gratification. I knew I didn't like that sentence, but I believe it to be true. I want entertained, and I want entertained now. That's why VOD will remain popular. There's an expectation now from the consumer to be able to access their content beyond the PC. With free TV, the feeling of mass viewing and being part of a community is something to talk about over the water cooler. It will play a part. Movies have a magnetic pull, especially when they're first available. Filmflex new releases come straight after theatrical. We benefit from all of the marketing dollars that are spent in the theatres to get people to go there. We come in at window after that. That's very important. So the pre-marketed nature of titles makes VOD powerful. Those who will win out will be willing to experiment. They'll experiment with new business models and some that haven't even been dreamed of yet. and the content owners who are flexible and nurture each individual title through its life cycle are open to new business models which address the consumer will benefit most. So, finally, 3 points. How do you make money from VOD? 1, continue to make great content. 2, provide access with the smallest amount of friction for the consumer. And 3, partner with Filmflex. Thanks.
That was great. So just to remind you, if you want to tweet, it's hashtag MIPTV. And to get my attention on this screen, it's, I'm at katecomments. So that's the way to get my attention. And this is the VOD on tap session, which we're trying to get to trend. So if you want to tweet, we're open to that. Now, second speaker, Charlie Muirhead. He's the CEO and founder of something called Rightster. Rightster is less than a year old, but Charlie is a serial entrepreneur, so I guess he knows what he's doing. And Charlie's going to tell us all about Rightster's approach to catch up in VOD. Charlie Muirhead.
Thanks, Kate. So we're going to go a slightly different direction here, and rather than talk about what we did, we're going to take you through some slides. Actually, they belong to Mark Browning, the managing director of ITN Productions, one of our clients, and it's a little case study as to what the challenges they faced were, and how we were able to help them with some stats at the end about the results. So it's a little bit of background in case you don't know who ITN are. They are the production business that creates the news in the UK for ITV and for Channel 4, and also produce a lot of broadcast content, as you can see. They also do a lot of corporate production work, and in the online space they also supply an awful lot of mobile and portals and newspapers with regular daily news content. And within that digital business, there are 3 main pillars. One is to actually go out and do individual production services, and in some cases those are paid productions, but for the vast majority that's news coverage. And then the third thing is that they actually do the short form syndication of those news clips across many, many different sites on the internet. So ITN came to us with a pretty positive story, and this is a couple of observations here about their existing business. This is one of their major publishers, and they have several hundred that they syndicate to, as you saw in one of the previous slides. And so this is taking ITN Productions as news content and delivering it to different B2C consumer-facing sites. And I guess one of the most interesting reveals here, especially given what Jeff was just saying about 80% of revenue coming from the new content, you can see here the split between the weekly views that are generated from legacy, which is anything more than a week old in news terms, versus clips which are from the current week. And obviously when there's a big news event breaking, there's a spike in the gap between the legacy and the overall views, but you can see that the archive content actually delivers a very, very hefty amount of the video views on those publisher sites, and dominates the revenue generated as well. Second interesting bit of information, ITN as a business also has demonstrated time and time again the power of that news content. This is one of the largest online publishers in the world that ITN supplies, and you can obviously see some great growth there. But on the right-hand side, the dark blue segment at the bottom is ITN's content on that publisher, and the light blue is all the other video content on that publisher. And so you can see that ITN's news clips, which represent anywhere from 10 to 40 clips per day, represents at times nearly 40% of the total video viewed on that publisher site. So a pretty exciting business already. So ITN came to us with a challenge. They said, this is great. If you look on the right-hand side of this, we've got this beautiful news content. We're distributing out to lots and lots of different partners under various different commercial terms. But once we've split the stack of coins there with the publisher and with ad sales houses, and we've taken up off the cost of delivery of those services, And then we've accounted for the in-house team that do all the integration of our systems. And then finally, we take off the content that is ripped or stolen and published without permission. The amount of money that they were seeing out of this business was a tiny fraction of the total amount of money it was generating. And ITN have publicly stated that they have about 50 million monthly video views from their content across all publishers. So quite a sizable business. And so what they really wanted to do was find a way to collapse this value chain and remove a number of the cost elements and at the same time try and find a way to get greater control and visibility of the monetization so that they could optimize it and obviously grow it. So where did Rightster fit in? Very simply, we are principally a technology company with some services attached. And we develop cloud-based software which enables people to simplify the distribution, marketing, and monetization of both live and video-on-demand content. Now, there's three main things that we bring together. Number one is it's cloud-based software, so it can be up and running in literally 24 hours or less. We deliver a number of services, so this includes media sales, publisher outreach, which is engaging additional publishers for your content, essentially selling the content in, very importantly, audience development and application development. And then finally, our business model is a percentage of revenue, so we don't charge technology fees for providing those services. The team, I'm not going to go through everywhere on the chart here, but we have some great people from, for example, our head of development comes from Akamai, our CFO comes from a company called On Demand Group who do a lot of movie distribution, and we're growing this team actually by about 3 to 5 people a week at the moment. The key things that we were able to offer people, I'm just going to highlight a couple here, is at the top, obviously there's some very clever things the software does, and I'll illustrate those on the next slide. But really importantly, live streaming has been a huge area of interest for people, especially when combined with video on demand around major events. And one of the first things we were able to do for ITN is distribute and monetize the royal wedding in over 20 countries for them, and that was in April last year. We also help a lot of clients with their business strategy and their content strategy. A lot of people are in a stage right now of experimentation rather than having all the answers. And frankly, there is no one answer for everybody's content. You constantly get questions about the length of the content, the style of the content, which sites they should distribute to, should there be a minimum revenue guarantee or should it just be ad funded? So workshopping those issues with the client is part of the service. And then the other one I've highlighted here is audience development. So you can't just put your content out there and expect people to come to it. Just like television content, you need a marketing plan around that. And again, we help provide not just services, but also tools to clients to do that. And the real benefits of working with somebody like Rightster is efficiency, visibility, control, really importantly, minimizing risk, business risk, and the capital required. So just going to the outcome of the work with ITN was that they were able to launch a new cloud-based service that integrated a number of key partners that they already worked with. It enabled ITN to push content through that cloud across a huge range of existing partners and clients of theirs across a range of different devices, and really importantly enabled them to control the selection of which player, which ad server, which ad sales house, and what licensing model was going to be used in each one of those clients' cases from a single control panel. Once you push the content out, that's great, but to really optimize your revenue and grow your audience, you need to get the data back, the analytics back, and then feed that into a series of tools. And Rightster's tools enable people to take that data and forecast correctly the amount of inventory that's going to be available and therefore how much you can sell, to actually do ad sales and sponsorship sales across the content, but as a single sell across all platforms. Obviously to traffic those ads and optimize them. Reporting is hugely important, both the numbers as well as making sure you know what you need to pay each client. And then really importantly, editorial insight, which is saying, how can I learn which of my clips or pieces of content literally through the day in near real time are performing the best and getting the most uptake. And that's a constant feedback loop to the editorial team. So that's the solution: insight-led, automated, and centralized global advertising sales. So just to summarize, ITN's vision and goals obviously would say, how can we grow our business but also make sure it's actually profitable? The challenges were these many complex layers of cost in the system and just the sheer complexity of it. As you saw, what we were able to bring together for them was really a completely different approach from the way they handled things historically. And that is essentially a turnkey solution. And just some of the results at the bottom here. The royal wedding I mentioned earlier, that was monetized in over 20 countries. We had just 4 weeks to set that up and achieved CPMs between 10 and 30 pounds in different countries. So that was a huge result and also demonstrated the real interest in major live events in the media agencies. We also launched ITN's Facebook channel, which was hugely successful, and that now delivers both live and video on demand directly to their Facebook page. We migrated in just a few months since we took over ITN's distribution, 50% of their clients. And then finally, the expectation based on what we've seen today is that we're going to more than double their digital revenues in 6 months. So all in all, so far, very successful.
Double their whole digital revenues in 6 months. Wow. Okay.
Thank you very much. Kate, I'm going to hand back to you.
Oh, that was the end. Oh, great. That was a good way to end on an upbeat. Thank you very much. All right. Good. Thank you, Charlie. Our last speaker is Ashley McKenzie. He is founder and CEO of Base 79, also used to be known as My Video Rights. Base 79 is about 4 years old. Ashley's been in this game for a while, and he's going to give us his view of where things are going. Ashley McKenzie.
Thanks, Kate. So our company's called Base 79. I founded it with a friend of mine, Richard, in 2008, actually, so we've been going at this a few years. We are a B2B company, very similar to Charlie's in some respects. We help owners of high-quality video IP protect, distribute, and monetize their content online, and increasingly to any IP-connected platform or device, and I'll come on to tell you exactly what we do. We founded the company in London. We now have an office in London, New York, and Sydney. I moved to the States at the end of last year to lead the business from Sydney. Next one. So from a value proposition, what do we do for our content partners? We acquire rights from them in a partnership agreement, and then we pass them through a value chain, a set of services and some technology similar to some of the stuff you've heard already today. And we do the things that we think are necessary in this online space to make money. The first thing we do is we protect or look for unauthorized use of content. So on the platforms that we distribute content to as a B2B, so we distribute to YouTube primarily, but we also do Facebook and Dailymotion and Metacafe and some O&O sites and so on. We will go onto those platforms and look for unauthorized use of content. And we think that's important primarily actually because unauthorized use of content in an AVOD world will serve to dilute down the amount of traffic that can hit the official content. So in advertising, as you know, which in the world of social media is the main monetization model, advertising is a function of inventory times by price times by sell-through rate. So the key for us when we're looking to monetize content at that level is to maximize the amount of viewing that we can create on an asset. And you'll come on to see this as a theme in our presentation about the creation of audience. So we seek to claim back that unauthorized use. We do that, again, philosophically, not because necessarily we believe that these kids that are often using this content are genuine pirates, but we think that it is absolutely right that the content owner should see a revenue stream from that sort of usage. We'll then distribute official versions of the content onto these platforms. And YouTube would call us an MCN, a multi-channel network, which is a name that probably was coined by them about 9 months ago through the acquisition of a business in the States called Next New Networks. And we run on YouTube about 360 different channels. So we have multiple channels in multiple genres. We work in TV and entertainment, So we've partnered with companies like Tiger Aspect and Zodiac and BBC Motion Gallery and AETN and Psycho. We work in sport, so we work with sports federations like Football Association, FIA, GT1, WTA. We work in music, so we work with a lot of record labels like Ultra Records, Ministry of Sound, Domino Records. And we also are increasingly working in original content producers, and this is the new wave of content owners that are coming through online. In some ways, actually filling the vacuum that is being left in this social media world. And we partner with companies, probably one of our best known is a company called SBTV and Jamal Edwards. And we help distribute their content, and we do everything on YouTube. So whilst you will not see Base 79 on that platform, you will see their channels, and we are sitting behind them running that content. And then we have our own advertising sales team. So similar again to some other businesses, we run direct ad sales in the territories where we have offices. So we will sell our inventory on that platform. And we think that is important because it maximizes the ECPM, it maximizes the amount of revenue that can come back through the content. Sorry. And the thought that we've started to evolve towards, and the thought I think I'd like to put in your mind, is that the game here is not really about distribution. In our view, the game is about the creation of monetizable audience. And those two things, in a traditional linear TV world, are intimately linked. And I had a great conversation yesterday with a TV producer. But in our world, in the online world, distribution does not create audience. I think probably everyone in the room, excuse me, everyone in the room will have experience of putting content online that, when distributed onto a linear TV channel, will generate a 20% share or several million viewers a night. But actually, you put it online, and nobody watches it at all. So our game and what we're interested in doing is the creation of audience. So of course, it all starts with the content. Actually, if you talk to ad networks, the content is actually not necessarily that important. If anyone's familiar with auto-roll ad networks, then you'll know that actually content is kind of becoming meaningless to them. But we believe it all starts with the content and the user actually searching for and initiating a play. But from that point, you have to do distribution, you have to do video SEO to make sure that the user has the best chance of finding your content. But then you actually have to build audience around it. You have to engage with a community. When you work with an MCN such as us, there are maybe half a dozen in the world of our scale now. What we will do is we will promote your content throughout our network. So we increasingly have tools, and platforms like YouTube and Facebook are building terrific tools around this to help cross-stimulate content from one channel to another channel, from one set of users to another set of users, from one set of subscribers to another set of subscribers. We run on YouTube across all of our content. We have about 5 million subscribers to our content today, and we are increasingly being given tools and the ability to cross-promote and cross-stimulate that content. And in a sense, that's actually what broadcasters do. I mean, in a sense, there are many broadcasters in the world who will acquire rights from third parties. They'll put it through a distribution platform that might be a linear analog distribution platform. It could be cable, it could be DTH. They'll sell ads around it, they'll cross-promote, and they'll build revenue. And in the end, that royalty flows back to the producer. We're doing very similar things. And then from us, and we are at the right-hand end of Jeff's windowing, sadly, at the right-hand end of Jeff's windowing slide. We're in AVOD, we're in the free distribution window. What's also very important is scale. If those of you that run businesses that have advertising as a major part of it, you will know that advertising is primarily a scale business. So you have to hit scale. If you can't generate scale, if you can't generate monetizable viewing at scale, it's very hard to move the dial for an advertiser. It's very hard to support the costs of the ad sales team. And so the question I think is most pertinent, and the question I would probably leave you to dwell on, is not really what's my distribution strategy. It's not even what is my monetization strategy. Distribution is immediate, thanks to the internet, thanks to search engines. It's broadly free. Monetization is in place for high quality content. There is a massive demand from advertisers. What is scarce and what is hardest to generate is audience. So I would ask myself not what my distribution strategy is, not what my monetization strategy is, but how am I going to build audience around my content online? And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ashley. That was really interesting. So I think you can see from this that we have, these are experts in the field, and they're coming at it from slightly different perspectives, right? They deal with slightly different kinds of content, and they have different sort of, let's say, I don't know, business models. Yeah, different business models. So why don't we just start? I think that's an interesting question. We'll start with that, and then I have a couple more questions to get us going, and then I'll bring some people in from the audience. So Ashley, Ashley's just said, and I'm put this to you guys. Ashley just said, it's not really so much about what your distribution thing is. I mean, that's all happening. But how do you actually build an audience to your content online? Now, Jeff, when you hear that, what happens with you? I mean, in a way, you're at another end. As he says, he's at the advertising VOD end. You're at the premium end. So in a way, you can piggyback, like you said, on the theatrical noise and the marketing and all that kind of stuff. So you don't. Anyway, you tell me.
We're very fortunate. We're dealing with I would argue, the most premium of premium content. So the content itself is something which generates interest. But what perhaps I didn't make clear enough is our relationship with our white label partners. We provide effectively the back end and the delivery and from the digitization through to the billing, etc. What we expect them to do, and why interestingly, someone tweeted that why don't we have more partners? We don't have more partners. As I said, we've generated over 280 million pounds of revenue. But the reason we don't have more partners is we choose partners who have a brand and traffic which they wish to monetize. So effectively, the front end for us is the HMV with all its footfall throughout its stores, or Virgin, so it's a very different situation. Because our job is to help them monetize what is an existing flow of traffic and brand. So slightly different in that we're not chasing the audience. We are partnering with people who have an audience, have traffic, and are asking us to help them to monetize it.
Got it. So Charlie, what's your perspective? Where do you fit into this thing, this sort of spectrum, let's say, of VOD, particularly with the live stuff?
Sure. I think for a client like ITN, they obviously have very smart people who can tag content correctly, and I think anybody who knows about the space will know a lot of it focuses around the area of search engine optimization, from metadata. It's all about subscriber management and so on. But the interesting thing when you compare it to when you talk about the publishers that you're dealing with, a lot of ITN's clients have a team focused on how to get people engaged with the content, but they rely on the successful tagging of the content at the source. Right. And then they rely on having a publisher team who really understand SEO as well, search engine optimization. And that, as you go down the scale of publisher, is often not the case. Right. Not that they don't understand it or don't want to,
but they don't have the resources.
Have enough resources.
Yeah, they don't have the resources.
So where we sit in the middle is, one, we're providing that constant feedback loop, so that every time you do something, you can see the outcome and then optimize it, almost like A/B testing. But very importantly, we're often giving advice both to the rights holder as well as to the publisher on how to better promote things. Just a quick example, for live content, you've got to get a permanent page up a long time before the event and start delivering content, or it's not going to index and nobody's going to come and find it.
Good point.
For example.
So Ashley, when you hear that, I mean, obviously, as you say, in the advertising supported world, it's a slightly different game, because it's all about, how do I get this stuff out there so people know it's there, so they'll come to it. It's all about scale.
Yeah, I think it is about scale. The thing about the model is, it doesn't matter how good the content is, if and we can show many examples, and it's one of the things we often end up doing, of very high quality content in the social media world. YouTube is the one most closest to our heart. It's the one we work with most closely. We can show you the same video, exactly the same video, that has done 0 viewing, and exactly the same video that's done 10,000 views.
I mean, the same video.
Exactly identical content.
On what, different platforms?
No, on the same platform.
On the same platform?
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Often it's around the metadata. Often it's around how quickly the community has picked it up and started distributing it and tweeting it and sharing it with their friends. And how you, and so for us, and like others, it's how do you actually do that at a scalable level. But we are unfortunate in that we don't often work with the quality of content that Jeff and his company will have yet. But maybe one day we will. We do think that.
But it's interesting content.
The creation
It's
of
maybe
audience is
longer.
most
It
important.
may be longer tail content, but it's still interesting content to someone, right? That's the whole idea.
It's about relevancy, I think.
Yeah.
It's about, is it relevant at that point in time?
And how do you find those relevant people at that point in time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in some ways we've kind of answered one of the first questions I thought we were going to talk about was what is the best way to monetize? In the sense that, well, the best way to monetize depends on what kind of content you have and what kind of platform you're talking about, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Jeff, tell me.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you do.
Yeah, but in our case, we like to work across different categories. Working with a broadcaster, someone who has high street stores, and effectively a television platform, and moving into other categories. Don't like to try and cause conflict amongst our partners. But each one of them has a very different business model.
Yeah.
So if you take something who has got, in the high street, they, from bricks to clicks and then from clicks back to bricks, that's their business model. They want to get that virtual circle. If you're a broadcaster, it's very different again. If you, like Virgin, you've got a television platform, again, very different. You want to keep people, the 3.8 million people, you want to keep them on your platform and spending. So there is no one answer even for us. So with every new partner we add, and I alluded to the ones that we would be adding, they've got another business model in which I think the whole use of loyalty schemes, the idea that they're building another business in which using movies to help drive that, there is no one answer. There's no one answer even within our own business.
Just as you were saying that, one thing that struck me was, but in the end, higher volume is better, even in transactional, presumably. So if you took your business, if you took your business entirely online, and could put 1 million users on it that generated 100,000, sales, that is better than having 100,000 users and 10,000 sales.
Yeah, but what
so actually, isn't it about discoverability?
No, not if you
even
were
for transactional.
Not if you were Virgin Media.
Not if you're Virgin, because it's all about just keeping them in the
it's
ecosystem.
keeping them within their system.
Yeah,
I think it is horses for courses because
they want to keep them as subscribers. Correct. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we sports companies, for example, are going through debates. How much are they going to deliver free content versus going for pay-per-view content in their digital distribution and so on. And it's heavily based on what the platforms can support as well as what a partner like Rightster can support. YouTube have just launched a huge upgrade to its front end that enables you to subscribe for different types of content, which means when you log into YouTube, you get a personalized homepage laying out all the things that you're interested in, as well as recommendations of things that you haven't subscribed to. And that kind of personalized TV experience is what I think people have been looking for a long time. And so that makes the subscriber to your content hugely important. So when you deliver to YouTube, you very specifically want to go after a way to attract subscribers rather than people who are just casual viewers who come in and then disappear out again.
Well, that's what their whole 100 channel thing is about, right? It's trying to create genres that will attract certain people, I think. You're looking at me like I'm crazy. What, Ashley? No. But that's okay. Yeah. Tell me I'm
sure
crazy.
You're not crazy. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I don't think that's entirely what that's about. I think what they're trying to do with the Next Up original programming initiative is to stimulate the content economy around the platform and to generally raise the quality of content on the platform, thus raising advertiser perception.
Which would be better for you and your clients as well.
Which net will be great for us because we're one of their biggest partners in the world, but it will be great for anyone distributing content onto that platform.
And certainly that is a perception that does need to be changed on YouTube to get to more premium content, to get the advertising rates up, the CPMs up. Yeah?
Yeah,
I mean, that's their
I think they
model.
seem to have accepted that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about other devices, because it seems like that's really important. It's not just the PC anymore. I mean, all of us sort of started in the PC world, but now we're getting onto the, the tablets and the phones and all that kind of stuff. How do you make sure this stuff that you do for your clients gets on the right device at the right time, can be authenticated, you can make the money? What's about the multi-device strategy? Start with us on that, Jeff.
One of the, I don't want to call it a negative because there'll probably be people in this audience who actually represent them, but one of the negatives from dealing with such high quality content is we have absolutely rigorous security issues. So we have to ensure that when we move on to multiple devices that we are providing our client, but also our content partners with the levels of security that they would expect before they license to us. So having done that, and I don't know if we've mentioned them enough, but we've got to answer what the consumer now expects. And the expectation of the consumer has changed dramatically. We all know this. So the idea that you would not be able to consume content and have those linked in some way, watching a movie, stopping, going out, using your tablet, starting that movie at the same point you left it, that is now an expectation. That's what all of our work in terms of multi-device strategy is about, is providing our clients, and our clients are our white label partners, and each one of them, and the existing ones and the new ones have different areas that they wish to, let's say, specialize on. So if you take a high street store like HMV, which has publicly said they're moving into more hardware in their stores, they've publicly said that, they wish to ensure that the HMV app is front and center of devices that they sell in stores. So for us, we will be concentrating for them on providing stuff that actually meets their requirements. If there's other clients that we're taking on board who have more of have a different approach, but all of them, the one thing is, no longer can we ever talk about is it an option to have a multi-device strategy? It's an expectation.
And so that's something you're moving into?
No,
yes.
no, that's
obviously.
something we're doing.
You're in now, okay.
Yes.
How important do you think that is, Charlie? And that's something obviously you're doing as well, I assume?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our clients is the British Fashion Council, who twice a year they put on London Fashion Week, and we have to do 50 live streams in 5 days, 10 a day of different catwalk events, and God knows how many designers, and I mean hundreds. And over the years we've improved that a lot for them. This year they again doubled their audience, and they got to 100 different countries and 200 different platforms, which was incredible. But the number of people accessing from tablets and mobile has just skyrocketed.
Was it like 50% or?
It's over 30% now.
Over 30%?
Over 30%.
Over 30% do from second screens?
From iPad and mobiles. The challenge, and it was zero, 18 months ago.
Right.
The challenge you've got is a lot of the monetization is completely different for those different devices in terms of the ad formats, and a lot of the ad buys, and Ashley was talking earlier about scale. You didn't have the scale on mobile to really sell it in the same way, so a lot of that content has effectively been given away for free till now. But I think that's going to start to change this year as the scale finally appears on those platforms.
Is that what you're seeing too, that we're trying to, because of the different devices, they're having to change the ad stuff to make it work on those different devices, and the models having to change, or do you think we're still a little bit behind the curve on that?
No, I mean, from us, from our perspective, the form factors are different. Some of the consumption habits are different. We like connected devices because piracy is not an issue and switching costs are much higher. So broadly speaking, it should be better for high quality content to cut through. You don't have the same problems as you have online. But from our perspective, in AVOD, the main advertising format will be in-stream, will be pre-roll and mid-roll.
Pre-roll, mid-roll,
yeah. I mean, for us, it's the multi-platform strategy is taking appropriate steps at the right time. It's different. I mean, interesting on security. I mean, this is a classic, I think, where it depends on the content. When we first started 4 years ago, we used to get hooked up in legals around security in our license agreements immensely. I can tell you today, it is not an issue at all. Doesn't even come up.
Doesn't come up.
No.
Because they're not
Now,
for him.
we're not sitting
Comes
there.
up for him.
We're not sitting there with Sony and Disney,
Sony
as
and Disney, yeah.
as our shareholders and major contributors.
I wouldn't say it was just our shareholders. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
But
why do you think it doesn't come up for you now? Just out of curiosity.
I think it is about some of the content we work with. I mean, so classically with full track music videos, they are designed to be given away.
Yeah.
They are promotional items. I think also because of YouTube, which is half of online video viewing generally, is built on Flash primarily,
Yep.
and Flash's security is just probably not that good, and it's not built that way. And then fundamentally, you sort of police it at the user level, i.e., the rights management activity we do captures that sort of use rather than trying to create secure streams.
Okay.
But it's just a general truism, just a reality of our business that security is either given or is at a level that people are very comfortable with.
Yeah.
I think it's heavily to do with ad-funded versus transactional content, because if you've got ad-funded content and you can watch it for free, why would you copy it and put it somewhere else? Why would you not just watch it where it is?
Yeah.
If you've got transactional content where you have to pay for it, there's a great financial incentive to copy it and try and take it away.
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing that we believe strongly, although we provide a multi-device strategy for consumption in multiple places, ultimately, with the quality premium content like movies, people will gravitate towards the largest screen that they can possibly consume it on. So it's not that, yes, they will while traveling, etc. I mean, watching a movie on a mobile may not be the greatest experience in the world, but it may be the best experience available to you
At that time, yeah.
At that time, but
as you're stuck in the airport, as the French air controllers strike.
Given the choice, you'll gravitate towards the largest screen available to you.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is ensure that we service whatever that requirement is for the consumer.
How are VOD rights changing? I mean, what needs to shift, if you see what I mean, to make this whole new ecosystem work better? What do you see as the biggest hurdles in this space? Who wants to start? Charlie?
I think getting rights cleared properly has always been a challenge and remains a challenge. I mean, we were with a US company last week who has produced a lot of very, very popular online web series, and of the shows they've produced, which is close to 60 plus shows, a very small fraction of them are rights cleared for anything outside the US.
Seems like a missed
really
opportunity.
Thought of that at the time of producing them. So
I mean, it's a global business now with the internet, for heaven's sakes.
You would think.
I assume you sort of gently said that to this client.
Well, it's history, obviously. So but it's a lot of paperwork. Anybody who's had to go back and then rights clear stuff for international use, and then some people go, "Well, I want more money," and So I think that's a real challenge. I think that is an area that's going to start changing, where people try and bake in pre-agreed fees that will enable them to exploit something digitally, especially as digital starts becoming effectively the same as television.
Right. What do you think the biggest hurdle is?
I wouldn't say it was necessarily the biggest hurdle, but we've got to try and instill a sense of rights experimentation. And what I mean by that is we deal with high quality content, but I tried to demonstrate that the windows that existed, they're collapsing, they're moving, etc. The whole connection for us between rental and then electronic sell-through, and how the model moves between them, requires the rights owner to take quite a proactive approach to experimentation and being prepared to say, okay, we're prepared to move on that. And I do think that that's something which has to change in the landscape. Not easy, but that's something that we have to work with our content partners to say, look, let's try something here. We've got a number of initiatives which let's try something, because as Ashley said, we can't just sit back just because it's premium content, nor can the studios. It's about building the business. And
but they're getting more flexible, aren't they? Tell me they are.
They are getting more flexible. If that's what you want me to tell you.
No, I mean, that's the problem.
There are some some are, and they're reaping the benefits, no question about it.
I would think so. Ashley, what do you think?
It reminds me that So Eric Schmidt, I heard quip once that there is no known business problem that money cannot solve.
That's good.
And so for me, it's scale.
Yeah.
You know, right now we still are in a very small industry.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking, I mean, the problems we face are mostly from underlying rights holders, so music publishing, footage, you know, where the independent TV production company, for example, will want to do distribution, but they haven't cleared that content through the original commission, because fundamentally the broadcaster or the original commissioner didn't pay them to do it.
Yeah.
I think scale changes everything. So for us, we get very excited about connected devices, because our business currently mostly exists on PC VOD. It's mostly content being consumed on laptops. You know, the scale of viewing is in the living room.
Yeah.
And for us, I'm sure for all of us, you know, 3 to 5 years out, you know, so that sort of happy middle ground that nobody can really quote me on, you know, somewhere around that, I actually think the value chain will be exploded. Where, you know, I really do.
Meaning that exploded in the sense
well, so
that...
right now the broadcasters mostly, by virtue of their licenses, still control the ecosystem. They are the pinch point. You know, if that is opened up through IP, then I really think it all changes. And none of that scale has been doable to date because the underlying internet architecture hasn't been there, broadband penetration hasn't been high enough, and these panels in the corners of our rooms were not talking to the internet. And that is now, to my mind, an inevitability.
Interesting. I want to go to the audience. I also have a question here on the Twitter. So I'm going to just say frictionless sharing. Let's start with that one. How interesting is frictionless sharing? So let's talk about, that's kind of in the sort of the social media side of all this. You know, for example, Netflix is distributed using Facebook. If you do your Netflix through Facebook, obviously everybody knows what you're watching. Then you can share stuff. I mean, do you think how important is the social bit of all this to VOD?
I think it's hugely important, and I think we're in such early days of the kind of the social TV experience, and I think it's definitely genre dependent. But to be able to sit at home and, you know, especially through things like Facebook, which can tell you which of your friends are tuned into the same thing, Google Plus obviously looking at that same thing,
right.
Although I think they're integrating YouTube around multiple different social networks so that you can actually share that experience. I think it's something that's very, very small percentage of users today, but something that will just be taken for granted, especially around a second screen device, which, you know, won't be streaming the content. The second screen device will just be giving you ancillary information and enabling you to share that experience, especially topics like sport, where that fan-based culture is incredibly powerful.
Which will help in the quest for scale, which what Ashley's talking about.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about that? Or?
Only that sharing could be the ultimate pyramid scheme.
The ultimate pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
How?
Content shared with others, who share it with others. Therefore, that content in terms of distribution and monetization could be massive. I totally agree.
But in a good way, not in a Bernie Madoff way.
I didn't say it was a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, right, sorry.
I said it was a pyramid.
A pyramid scheme, right.
Big difference.
Big difference. Okay. Who has a question from the audience? Let's open it up here. If we can bring the lights up so I can see people. Lights? La lumière, s'il vous plaît. Did that help? Yeah, see, it works. If you speak French, it works. Any questions? There must be something here. Yes? Yes, there's one there. Is there another question over here I can tee up? You know, come on. What's my best business model? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to ask, I think the guy from Rightster, just to ask about getting advertisers on board on your video on demand services. What were some of the obstacles that you might have faced? Because it's a relatively new business.
Yeah, I think, as Ashley said earlier, it's scale. So if you're looking to sell advertising at a premium rate, you either have to be working across a lot of different clients, or you need a client who, in their own right, has scale. The first and foremost way that ITN achieves scale is by sending its news content, syndicating it across many, many different publishers, each of whom have very, very large audiences themselves. So that's somebody like AOL or MSN, YouTube, and so on. And they're very fortunate to have that audience because they have great content and they've spent a huge amount of time developing the audience over the last few years. So they have scale on their own. If you don't have scale on your own as an individual, you need to find somebody who's going to represent your advertising as a bundle of content, and then there's scale across it, and that's again why you would find a partner to do that for you.
Right. Another question? No? Right? Yes, sorry, there's one. Seems to be this side of the room.
Sort of growing out of this area.
Where do you expect to take advertising revenue from? Are you going to take it from TV players or from other online, from search or from print? And what metrics are you using? Are you using to price? Are you using TV metrics or are you using online metrics in terms of how you price?
Because you actually sell advertising, right? That's part of your thing.
Yeah,
right, okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
So answer that. Those are good questions. Are you going to be cannibalizing other advertising streams, or do you think this is additive?
I think there's two parts to it. I think because there are more points of consumption now than there have ever been before, people are watching more video content. So the pie is getting bigger. So in terms of actual minutes watched in a day, whether it's on your mobile, your tablet, your PC, and so on. So I think that's part of where the increase is coming from, because we're monetizing people's attention or their eyeballs. But yeah, there's definitely going to be there's a percentage of viewing time that's lost from TV that's going to online. But I think that's very small at the moment.
Very small.
Very, very small.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think, unless there's another burning question. No? Yes? Where's one? Sorry. Do I see a hand? There we go. Good.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to ask you guys, in terms of marketing your service, so it's an online service, do you focus only on online advertising, or do you do some kind of cross-platform advertising, or how does it work for you?
Well, it depends what it is, because this is a white label service, so it depends.
Each one of our partners.
All B2Bs, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all B2Bs.
B2B.
Oh, okay.
But they power other people. Like Jeff
came
works
in
for
late, I'm
HMV.
sorry.
You came in, that's okay. We'll reprimand you later. Any other questions for these guys? No? All right. There is a Meet the Speaker session afterwards, right out there. So if you want to talk to them one-on-one about, what you could do with your content or whatever, that's available. But before that, could you please join me in thanking our speakers, Jeff Henley, Charlie Muirhead, and Ashley McKenzie. Thank you very much.